Welcome to the July 28, 2021 Delhi Township Board of Trustees meeting. We will start the meeting as we do every year, every week, month, or every meeting. Okay, easy for me to say. With the Pledge of Allegiance and a moment of silence. Tonight's moment of silence, I'm going to put it out to our first responders, to all of them, kind of keeping in connection with our new fire truck that was pushed back today, and it's out front for a look-see by everybody. So, for all of our first responders. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you so very much. Okay, Mr. Luby, approval of minutes.
Motion to approve the minutes from the Board of Trustees regular meeting held on July 14th, 2021.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, motion passes.
Motion to approve the payment of overtime for pay period ending July 13th, 2021.
So moved.
Seconded.
All those in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, yes, approved.
Motion to approve bills for payment.
So moved.
Seconded.
All those in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, approved. Report from the fiscal officer.
Resolution 2021-119, resolution authorizing the Township Administrator to spend greater than $10,000 on behalf of the Township, declaring an emergency and dispensing with the second reading.
I introduce and move the adoption of this resolution.
I will second the adoption of the resolution.
Any discussion on the resolution?
I can tell you there's two items on this spending authorization. The one is for lawnmowers for the Parks Department that were scheduled for this year. So these are the bigger riding mowers. And then we have a feasibility study that we're going to do for Delhi Pike, just to see about how we can address or be in front of future needs or traffic flows. It's half of the money's coming from a grant. It's about $29,000 worth of work. So a study to do that with half of it being from grant funds.
Okay,
So it was a matching grant?
To be technical, we put in 15,000 there, 12,790.
Close.
So we didn't ask for exactly half to have a better chance of, scoring and getting some funds.
Very good. I move to dispense with the second reading of this resolution.
I second the motion to dispense with the second reading of the resolution.
all those in favor of the motion to dispense with the second reading?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, Mr. Luby, please call the roll.
Mrs. Seavey.
Yes.
Mr. Davis.
Yes.
Mrs. Sturts.
Yes, resolution passes.
As far as significant transactions since the last meeting, we cut a check to Adlita for $199,000 as part of the 2021 road project. Check for $50,000 to David Schweer for a closing on Rapid Run. Our payroll on 7/22 was $360,000. As far as cash receipts, we received $3,480,000 for a real estate tax advance, and we received $1,561,000 as part of the American Rescue Plan funds. That's all I have.
All right, thank you. At this time, trustee correspondence. Trustee Seavey?
Yeah, I have some good news to share with you all. After having served on the Hamilton County Emergency Management and Homeland Security Board, this year our Hamilton County Board, their department, has achieved accreditation. Now, that doesn't sound like anything too profound until you understand that only 1% of all the counties in the United States reach this accreditation. And the Hamilton County Emergency Management and Homeland Security Agency has done that. And for those of you who are aware, this is the agency that handles all of our natural disasters, water, floods, weather, fire, and most recently, pandemics. And they did one heck of a job storing, refrigerating, and distributing PPE to some 518 different organizations across the county. So I sincerely want to send my congratulations to Nick Crosley, the director, and his staff. Quite an achievement.
Thank you. Trustee Davis?
Thank you, Trustee Sturts. Yes, a couple of things. And I think we've talked about this before with social media, and personally, I don't. I might do a little Facebook, but I don't go on the other ones next door and everything, where it's, if someone throws out an issue, all of a sudden 75 people have an issue with this or that, and it's really kind of counterproductive, especially when it regards township issues, where I think serving 14 years as a trustee, every one of us are accessible, Jack, every one of us. So always call us if there's something going on. You can call here and we will call you back, trust me, soon, very quickly. But there was something that hit the social media about parking on the streets, and now that concerns me. That is an issue, and we've seen that over the years, more families, more kids, more cars, and where do you park? Complaints with Greg and his department have skyrocketed. Cars on the front lawn, cars on the front steps, cars wherever it's convenient for them to park that car. And we try to get through that, and we send out the team that we have to try and get on the complaints. We've already broken the record last year and the year before on the nuisance complaints that come in. But that being said, there was something that was brought up, and I'm not sure if you all saw it either, but Skylark was brought up because of the parking on there, and also Riverwatch. And I just want to hopefully have a quick dialogue on it, and I appreciate Ron being here also. Skylark is an interesting street because it's a dead end, obviously, right? And there's a ton of cars back there. I got to go out Sunday and spend a little bit of time there. In fact, that's why I recognize you. How are you? There you go. Good to see you. And to see that, it's an interesting problem there on Skylark, just because there are a ton of cars, and as you're coming down and going around the bend to the right, you do have to physically take that car into that other lane, and then a car coming this way. And I got to see it once when I was there, to where the car had to stop, or they were going to go up on the lawn to clear the path to allow the other car to go. In this situation, they stopped backed up, which to me is even more dangerous in case kids are coming out. They're not looking for cars backing up, they're looking for cars going forward. But then when I kind of took a second look, I looked at the curb going down that entire area, and you can see on that bend where the curb has been scuffed up, hit. You see you see the tire tracks into the yard, and I thought, this is something I think we should at least address, just figure out. And I know, as soon as you say, well, we'll put more no parking signs up, people freak about that, like, oh my gosh, where are we going to park? So I want to throw that out there. And Riverwatch is an interesting one also, especially right there at Spyglass. If you're on Spyglass waiting to pull out, and you look to the left, down towards Anderson Ferry, down on Spyglass onto Riverwatch, you really do have to look under the car to see if there's any cars coming. You look underneath the tires so you can see if there's any movement. I had friends that lived back there for years, so I kind of became accustomed to it, but it has, again, popped onto the radar with some of the residents saying, this is an accident just waiting to happen. And I thought, regardless if it came through on some next door, whatever it is, but it does affect the residents of the township. And I thought we should really start a little bit of dialogue on this, if you don't mind, or hear from Ron as far as what's hot, what's not. And I know that we've discussed this through the years, but where are we here in July of 2021? Thank you.
Mr. Davis, I'll kind of start a little bit of this discussion, and we talked beforehand, and I think the intention is just to maybe outline what we do when we get a call or a request or a complaint regarding streets, parking, traffic flow, etc. It's something I know in my 4.5 years, there's a couple dozen that have come up. And as far as internally, we look at it several different ways. First of all, the last thing we want to do is impact people's parking on the street. I've been doing this for 24 years, and parking is one of the top 2 things that creates anxiety amongst our residents. So that's something, the last resort is trying to restrict parking. But there are geometries of the road, sight distances, there are some of those traffic engineering items that have to be applied. And so when we get a complaint, Ron typically goes out with Assistant Chief Braun or one of the other police personnel that looks at these, and I'm going to let them kind of go from there. But we do look at all of these and figure out what's the best. And these are existing roadways. They maybe were not configured for the cars and the expectation of how many vehicles, or they just fit in what they could and it was accepted. So the geometry of the streets is certainly not always the best. So we try and do our best for the residents. There is a process once we do go to restrict parking too. So it's not a simple, we can put up a sign. There's a process to follow that the state outlines, which with publications and notifying folks. So I'm going to kind of let Ron jump in from there and talk about how they look at it, and Chief Howarth can do the same.
Thank you, trustees. Thanks, Jack. Let's see, I got a little bit wrote down here. This is a request that comes in from time to time, like Jack said, always on township streets. Normally, it's a request by a resident where cars are parked on the main street, blocking the sight distance from an intersecting street, as you mentioned. It starts with teaming up with the police department to investigate the problem during different times of the day, including night, usually evening, early morning, where traffic is heavy, to confirm, if a problem exists. A crash report in the area is also ran to document and support the hazard. Our goal is not to restrict parking because we realize how important it is to the residents. Sometimes it's a van or large truck, and we can explain the situation to the resident, and they park in a different location, and occasionally that problem is solved in that area. Most of these come from the lay of the land or the road, the way the road was originally put in the subdivision or what have you. That's about 90% of them. Sharp corners, crests of a hill, and a sharp corner, that makes it a hazard. It appears we need a restriction put in place, then we reach out to all the residents it will affect to inform them that what is coming. Although these are hard decisions to make, we put a lot of time into it to do what we think is best for the residents. I know we did restrict some parking at Riverwatch and Spyglass. I don't remember the exact year, but I know we looked into that previously. And just to comment on Skylark a little bit, and we're still looking in that, obviously checking certain times of the day, but I went from an aerial view maybe back roughly 10 years, about every other year, and there wasn't near that many cars during the day until recently. I don't want to blame things on COVID, or maybe like you mentioned, a family might have, a certain number of kids where they all got their license, and now all of a sudden there's 3 extra cars in the street. So it could be a situation like that also, but we're definitely looking into it.
Yeah.
Thank you. And I think that's where the residents are. Can you at least look at it, take a second look at it again, which I appreciate. Over to you, Chief. Did you in fact do an accident report back on Skylark, where that stands for now? Or
Yeah, I didn't respond out there myself, but Assistant Chief Braun did. Lieutenant Murphy always worked with Ron until he retired, so Assistant Chief Braun kind of took over until we get that position filled. But they did go out there and look at that one. Just with other neighborhood streets, things do turn over. Sometimes somebody might be sitting out there thinking, I don't have that problem. Well, you might have that problem 5 years from now when people start getting kids that are driving and so forth. But as far as Skylark goes, the big thing we went back and looked at on auto accidents, we do have, I wouldn't say a significant number of auto accidents on that street in that bend area, but we do have more than a lot of other complaints that we got about parking on the street. So we share that with Ron and his department. A lot of side swiping, which makes you think it's narrow, it's tight through there. Where on some of the other streets, it's not as much of a problem as far as the road, as much as they hit a mailbox, inattentive, not paying attention, hit a deer, something like that. So, we're working with Ron, especially on Skylark, see what we can rectify. Like Ron said, we try everything we can, because if we enforce parking on Skylark, it's going to impact a good chunk of homes. So we try to do everything we can to eliminate that, try to work with them, especially like if Ron or yourself mentioned, if you got a big truck parked there or something, if we can just reach out to that person and say, hey, this is obstructing the view here. It's okay when there's a small car, a sedan, but when this big box truck or van's here, it does limit some view. In lieu of not allowing you to park another car there by putting up a sign, could you do us a favor and just maybe move it 30 feet south or east or west or whatever? So we do try to work with them, but sometimes it's inevitable. I remember the sign that we did do on Spyglass. I was probably, I wasn't the chief, I don't think, back then, but I remember that one because when you're on Spyglass and you were looking east on Riverwatch, cars would park right up there to that corner, and you got a grade coming up to Spyglass on Riverwatch, and you couldn't see anything. So when I drove by there yesterday, actually, came off of Spyglass to take a look at it again myself because I knew it would be a topic of discussion. And no cars were parked where it said no parking. That was all clear. And there was none on the west side either at the time during the day. So naturally, I didn't have any issues looking down and seeing traffic coming and stuff. But I will say I didn't see any vehicles there. So.
Yeah, I would say of the two, Spyglass and Riverwatch would be the less of the concern as far as where we are. But you are working with Ron and kind of
Absolutely.
piecing it, yeah. And you say, because it does impact others, as soon as you talk about no parking, and everyone goes ballistic, where it's like, that's not the first option, but we are trying to find some other ways. But maybe some of the residents also could understand what it creates to others, and maybe a friendly reminder just to start, hey, we don't want to get to, B and C in this plan. Could you please, be respectful of the other neighbors? That other area that, as you come around the bend on Skylark, is there a a right-of-way of patch of grass before a sidewalk there? There's a resident, maybe I should ask you. There is. Okay, do they, on that side, are they parking up on the grass just to stay over as far as? No, they're staying in the street because they don't want to get a ticket for being up on the right-of-way there.
I think that, I encourage people, if they have driveways, use driveways. Sometimes it's inconvenient because they know if they park there, then, their daughter's behind them and they're going to have to leave in the morning, so it's easier to park on the street. But, in this case, and starting eliminating spots, you would hope people would have the respect to be able to park in their driveway when they can. The problem is sometimes those driveways on Skylark can be smaller, and if you have two, then they're concerned because they're parked over the sidewalk. Then we're getting calls from residents saying, I'm trying to walk the neighborhood, and there's cars parked all over the sidewalk. Yeah. So that happens quite often, not necessarily always in that subdivision, but others. And this isn't an uncommon problem. I mean, this is kind of brought to the forefront here publicly because it's kind of public out on, from what I understand, next door and stuff like that. But Ron and his department and our department, for every one you hear about like this, maybe do 4 others that we're out there looking at, parking issues and signs and distance, time over distance and cars coming. If they're coming the speed limit, how long is it going to take for them to observe them and so forth. So.
Okay. I appreciate that. And I think the residents do also, that they're not just lost and forgotten over there, that it is an issue, but you could do it on Skylark, Riverwatch, and
like
several other
I said, the crash
streets.
reports on Skylark, and I'm not saying there were 10 this year, but more than your typical street that we usually see. And like I said, it's not always if there was a crash, it's what caused the crash or why was it. And it's mirrors clipping, sides swiping, because it's so narrow and people are trying to go when cars are parked there. So.
Thank you, Chief.
Yep, thank you.
Thank you, trustees.
We're good? All right, thank you, both of you. Okay. For me, we've had for the past couple meetings on our agenda of items that were happening around Cincinnati or around Delhi. Rolling on the River Car Show held by the Kiwanis Sunday down at Fernbank Park. Huge success for them. Thank you to all of you who came down. Thank you to the DCPA for parking. It definitely is a concerted effort by a lot of people in the township and the area, and we just want to say thank you for that. And those who came down, thank you for your patronage and hope you had a great time. All right, we'll start getting into our departments, and I see the fire department's up first. Okay.
A motion to approve the hiring of Andrew J. Braun as part-time firefighter EMT in the fire department at the rate per the collective bargaining agreement with the Delhi Firefighters Association and successful completion of the pre-employment physical, drug testing, and background check effective July 28th, 2021.
So moved.
Seconded?
All those in favor?
Yes.
Yes. Chief Andrew was one of the volunteers down there. He's always been involved in the community, and he was just masterful that day helping us. We needed young blood, so we like our employees to be in community service, so thank you.
Yeah, it's a bit of a Braun dynasty in the public safety department, but no, we're happy to bring him on.
Yep. Okay. So your report.
Okay, so again, these numbers are reflected in our June report. So here we're at the end of July and just kind of capture where we're at. Fire safety inspections at 29. We are starting to slow down for the year. We do have the typical summer slowdown scheduling with owners and things like that. So we typically do see that. But the car seat inspections kind of tell you where folks are. There's a lot of babies. We've seen them in our department, and we know out on the street, folks are getting ready for those young ones. So happy to provide that service. As far as incidents go, this year, year to date, we are about a 2.7% increase over 2020. We are on pace for another year over 3,600 runs. So, typically that's where we're telling you 10 runs a day, and that's how we kind of see things right out. Thankfully, fires have been low incidents. It's never fun to fight fire in this weather. Certainly our EMS calls are remaining consistent in that 230 to 250 range. Nothing outlier. We are running about that 300 run a month course, and our transports are consistent. And again, just as a reminder for everyone watching at home, transports do provide revenue generation for our EMS reimbursement. So when those numbers are in the 180s, we meet our budgetary alignment. That's what we project we're going to make. So we do definitely like to see these numbers. Again, response time under 5 minutes, and loss just $50. So we'll take all that good news.
Definitely.
Any questions?
Question. Trustee Seavey?
How did we lose $50?
Isn't that mean property
We
loss?
didn't lose, property loss, small fire. But no, thanks to everybody that came out this morning for our push-in ceremony and wet down with the trucks. We do really appreciate the community and your support in providing us the equipment we need to do the job. I think really one of those things that can't be overlooked. That's why I say it's just a fabulous community to be a part of, and how much support we get, police and fire, but certainly it's appreciated.
Okay. Any comments, Trustee Seavey?
I thought the ceremony this morning was spectacular. It was very moving, based in tradition. And, from the very beginning, I've said, our job is to also protect those who protect everybody else. And when you have a chance to see this truck and understand the safety involved in the interior of that truck to protect our firefighters, it's just the best. And congratulations on the great new truck.
Yep. Thank you.
Trustee Davis?
No, just concur with what's already been said, and what makes Delhi so special. I know some people say, "Oh, we pay taxes, a lot of taxes," but when you have safety services like you have in Delhi with the police and the fire and basic services in general, to me, it's worth every penny. You have a non-breather right there, and you got someone there within 3.5 minutes. That's an incredible thing compared to just a couple blocks over there in the city, and you wait maybe 25 minutes or a half hour, and it's over. So. Yes, some things you have to pay for, and this is awesome, and thanks for indulging all of us and keeping us informed as Engine 36 was being built, and the specifications, keeping the residents safe, keeping you all safe, and at the end of the day, you go home to your families. That's what it's all about. So job well done this morning for those that attended the ceremony, and seeing the firemen all push the engine into the bay. That was worth getting up at 7 in the morning for. But
On an uphill grade, no
A
less.
little grunting there for that push.
That was
was,
500
yes.
gallons of water on that truck.
Yeah. So,
it was, you could just see that there's a lot of pride there in that department, as there should be. So
Certainly.
thank you.
Right.
Thank you.
And the retiring ceremony for the old 36.
Yeah,
and
we
then
figured that we had about 130 years of experience on that hose line when they wet down the engine. So
That was really
we were very happy for them to come out and participate with us. Again, those vehicles, they don't match anything up to a fellow firefighter in terms of your partnership. But when you're working off a piece of equipment for 18 years, you really get to know the ins and outs and how, it kind of helps you do your job better, protects you. So it has been a good guardian over the years.
Appreciate those words. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mike Bredestig, you brought that up when the fireman, that was my seat in that Engine 36 for how many years? 18 years, whatever it was.
Yeah,
That's where I
absolutely.
sat, and to see it, and again, new life, I guess, so.
Right. The pride and the tradition starts all over again, starting today.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
for that. All right. Parks and Recreation, Mr. DeLong. No agenda items, but our report.
Well, thank you. Summer's winding down, unfortunately. The football season is around the corner, so we're happy about that. Just some things in Delhi Park. The farmers market continues to be a big success. Our new playground, we were hoping to have a ribbon cutting on August 21st. Not looking like it right now due to the weather. Plus, there's a delay in materials getting delivered, so like the turf around the playground. So as soon as we get things in order, we'll have a date so we can have a good ribbon cutting scheduled and a good event for everyone to come out to. I hate to get into all the events, but we do have a concert coming up on August 19th, Curling the Cue Balls, and we are starting our registration for Fall Softball League. So we have one more tournament this weekend for Summer League, and fall will be starting soon. Storywoods, we're just continuing the planning for the Harvest Hootenanny. We're hoping it'll be bigger and better than before. I think Mary has done a really good job, and she's got a lot of good vendors lined up, so we're looking forward to that. And that will be scheduled for October 16th, and we are still looking for employees. So if you know anyone looking for a full-time park maintenance worker position or a seasonal worker or even a custodian, we are looking for able, willing bodies to help us out. So, any questions?
Okay.
No, no,
Trustee Seavey? No?
I'm good.
All right.
Thanks.
What's it pay?
You looking for a job? You're not busy enough?
I don't have enough to do.
Volunteer. You can help us out. we need it. Thanks.
Such are the times, huh?
Send your friends and family. Okay, thank you. Police Department, no agenda items, but Chief?
It's not on the agenda, but real quick before we hit those, I'd like to mention the presidential visit.
Please do.
In the residents and the patients that they had. It was a lot more than I ever anticipated. I knew it would be a job. And it's a little more than the Christmas parade, as far as shutting down roads and stuff. So I truly appreciate it. I know it did cause havoc. I know some people weren't happy. A lot of those individuals that weren't real happy didn't know he was coming. So for the most part, everybody did. So our main objective was getting them through the township one time, getting them back through the township and out of the township safely. So we were able to do that. And everybody that protested, it was peaceful, we're able, and that's everybody's right. So I appreciate everybody. Just to give everybody an idea, because they said it was gridlocked in Delhi Township, which you can imagine everybody kept calling us wanting to know the route so they could stay away from it. Well, we're at a catch-22. We're telling you he's coming, but we can't tell you the route. So, I mean, if you knew where he was going the first time, there's 3 main arteries that can get you to where he was going. So all those arteries had participants on it, people out and about. But just to give you an idea, it was a shock to us, but about 20 minutes before he landed, we were notified. Everybody was at their traffic post, but they told us that when his wheels touched the ground at the tarmac, the streets in Delhi are closed. So you can imagine how long they were closed. So by the time he hit the tarmac, they had the sweeps coming through the whole route, making sure everything's cleared, and then it was about 45 minutes later he comes through. So it did disrupt. Good thing is, hadn't happened before, and might be a long time before it ever happens again. So
Definitely.
I'll just add real quick. This was not our choice. We were told he's coming. You'll support it. So I've seen this happen before. So just to make sure, we didn't ask for this. We're happy to support it once in a while, once in a great while. But this was basically the Secret Service saying, "You're going to support it. Figure out how to make it work." That's the end of the story. So just so people are aware, we didn't ask for it.
And everybody did on the department come through. We had 4 people out of town that weren't able to work. Everybody else had their hand in on it. So 27 troops had to come in, and took 142 officers to do traffic posts from here to the airport. So we're just glad he didn't go to
Right.
an ice cream store.
Yeah, that would have been another whole thing. Trustee Seavey?
I happened to be out of town for this event, so we watched on TV, 2 laptops and 2 phones, all on different networks. And of course, every time we saw the Delhi vehicle, we would cheer, there they are. So we actually cheered more for you than we did for the president going by. So, just so you know, and we watched all the devices were on. It was interesting.
I will say they drive fast in that motorcade,
Oh, yeah.
so that's a good thing.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Trustee Davis?
Well, just acknowledging, obviously it was an inconvenience for many residents, but if you have to be inconvenienced, that would be something to be inconvenienced for. One of only 46 people in the history of this country literally drove right down the street a week ago today. That's amazing. The President of the United States was on Delhi Pike over here, and Delhi shined. They did. You guys were awesome. Now, Chief, you're being a little shy here. You got an actual picture. Is that accurate?
Yeah, I did.
And you're selling that online on eBay for what?
Once I get it, I don't have it yet. I
Yeah.
wasn't able to take it. They took it for me.
Yeah.
Nice.
Regardless, obviously, where you stand politically, wherever you stand religious-wise and everything else that was brought up, you know what? It's a once-in-a-lifetime event. The last time I think you had a president was Kennedy on a train down off the River Road, or William Henry Harrison when he was buried down in Cleves, that maybe they went over our territory, maybe. But I'm glad that he came in and out twice. You guys were awesome. The township shined. And like Jack said, we didn't have any say at all. They said this is what was happening, and we rose to the occasion. So bravo to that. Good job.
Yeah. Chief, I did have a question, and you may not know the answer, but I always thought they had to clear the air so much time before he's coming in and after he was leaving.
Correct.
As they were driving him, or when they showed him at the airport, there was air freight planes landing.
Yeah. I mean, that's one of they each have their own little part. So I think, and I'm under the impression that even air traffic was stopped when he was in doing the,
Coming over.
they weren't flying over.
But, they're showing him on television and getting out of the limo, and freighters were coming by, and I was like, I didn't think that was right. But anyway, and the other one is, how many other troops were involved? We saw Ohio State, Kentucky State, we saw Springfield Township, Green,
Yeah.
us.
We requested Springfield Township and Corring Township. They supplied
Okay.
3 individuals, so that's 6 from there.
Okay.
University of Cincinnati Police Department was detailed out here. The city of Cincinnati coordinates they're the one that leads it, the motorcade. They've done this before for vice presidents and everything, so they're very familiar. So they covered a lot of our traffic posts for us also that we just couldn't. Originally, they wanted every commercial driveway even blocked.
Right.
Not just the streets, but a commercial driveway. Well,
Right.
we had 142, and we weren't able to cover every
All that.
commercial driveway.
I did see somebody trying to pull out their driveway.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, one of the
Fully loaded.
motorcade, one of the motorcycles just kind of scooted over and parked right in front of the driveway. And I'm like, where does that person think they're going? And they did. They just sat there. President went by, and they took off after him. So it's interesting to watch it all. But anyway, yes, thank you from all of us.
Thank you.
For a great job representing us well.
Thank you.
Okay.
We did a little change up this month since we're at the 6-month period through January through June. So I kind of compared this year's numbers to last year's numbers. These are Part 1 crimes, so these are more your serious crimes, not your violent crimes, but more serious, including theft is in these numbers. So those are the months. If you see the red or orange, whatever you want to call it, that's this year per month. So you can see every month's been down with the exception of this past month. June has gone up. Our service details, very comparable to last year, no change in those. Part 2 crime, you can see we did have a spike in March of this year. And then the other months are pretty much status quo. It did go down this month in June. So June, we went up in Part 1 and down in Part 2 crimes.
And what is part 2?
Part 2 is your criminal damaging, your
okay.
minor misdemeanor drug abuses and stuff like that.
Thank you.
And then overall, if you put both of those together, you can see that we're down pretty much every month except the month of March when you add Part 1 and Part 2 compared to last month, or last year, March. And then finally, this is looking back 4 years, including this year, 5 years. Granted, we're only 6 months into that for 391 criminal offenses reported. But as you can see, from 2017, we had 1,104. So we've gone down every year, and then I project that 391 will probably get up there around the 800 mark on an average. So it's just kind of a look back last 4 years.
Good information. That's good information. 'Cause
And I
everybody-
would like to make note, these are reports that are reported to the state of Ohio. Okay, so if Trustee Sturts calls because her car was rummaged through and the change was taken out of the box and she called about that, it's listed as a report, but not necessarily sent to the state because they don't follow up, they don't want an investigator contact them. Although it's still theft, it's a crime. but that's not reported to the state. These are ones that actually are reported to the state.
Okay, thank you.
Any questions?
Trustee Seavey?
No, I'm good. Thank you, Chief.
Trustee Davis? We're
Thank you.
good. All right, thank you so very much. Appreciate it. Okay, Public Works.
Resolution 2021-120, resolution authorizing execution and submission of the 2020 Township Highway System mileage certification, declaring an emergency and dispensing with the second reading.
I introduce and move the adoption of this resolution.
I second the adoption of the resolution.
Any discussion on this resolution, Mr. Ripperger?
This is just something we do every year. I believe we need it for our tax budget also. So just a standard state thing we need to do. I believe our mileage is 55.4 miles.
I move to dispense with the second reading of this resolution.
I second the motion to dispense with the second reading of the resolution.
All those in favor of the motion to dispense with the second reading?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, Mr. Lubin, please call the roll.
Mrs. Seavey.
Yes.
Mr. Davis.
Yes.
Mrs. Sturts.
Yes, resolution passes. Okay. You have more to say?
Yes, plenty. Let's see, I'll start out with our road project in the Riverwatch Greenwell area. Currently, our concrete work got completed last week. So tomorrow they're going to start preparation for final asphalt work. So that's kind of the next step. That's going pretty good. I know they worked around a lot of rain showers, but it worked out pretty good. The FEMA project's been pretty quiet recently. We have 21 offers, 18 accepted, 10 closed, 4 declined, and 1 closing scheduled. It's really been pretty quiet. I believe people are still, we got a handful still looking for houses, so it's moving forward. Let's see, our in-house road crew. We've been working on stormwater inlets, a lot of tree trimming with all the rain. I think everything is just really green and growing. The crew recently trimmed all the catwalks, which there's 12 in the township. We usually do that at least once a year, probably possibly twice this year. Let's see, fleet maintenance. We have 19 repairs, 11 services. One of the services was a fire truck. And with the constant mowing and rain, we've had a mower in about every week for repairs and service for the past 3 weeks. So I think it's good timing for some purchasing of some mowers, I believe. Let's see, I'd like to go over a few projects and complaints.
Are you going to cover Palisades?
Yes,
Okay.
that's the whole middle section here.
The whole middle section.
Just checking.
Sit back and relax.
With a fun-filled summer of construction, to say the least. Let's see, a complaint we've had recently, and I think everybody's eye catches it driving down Delhi Pike at Katy Bud. There's a leaning pole with a rope hooked to it. We've had plenty of complaints. We've had multiple correspondence with Cincinnati Bell. They are content with a rope holding it, and they claim they will replace it soon. So we have a good contact. It's on the list, and that's about all we can do, really. But we're trying. Definitely
A
noticeable.
strong wind will take that down.
Yeah, I don't see how you can't really catch your eye driving down the street. So, let's see, Mayu Road closure. Just a little information on it. It's a 300-foot section, 24 inches wide, combined sewer replacement. They claim the project's been in the works for 10 years. I had heard it was closed for 8 months, but I talked to the project manager today and they told me 3. Not to say the project would be completely done, but it won't be closed. So that's some good news. I know I had heard 8 months. If anybody would have any questions on that project, we do have, direct contact with the project manager. And moving on to the Duke Energy Replacement Infrastructure Project is the name of it. It's in 2 locations in Delhi. One of the 2 lines, it's one of 2 lines that run parallel with each other. The other one is owned by BP Pipeline. The Duke line carries natural gas from Delhi to Finneytown. The critical pipeline must be complete before December. The project involves replacement of 900 feet of 24 inches wide steel pipeline. They're really just crossing the street in the Palisades, so it shouldn't affect a whole bunch of the street. It was actually installed in 1966, this section. The other section is 2,000 feet of pipeline replacement on Bandana, installed in 1979. It actually runs in the right-of-way where they're going to replace it on the whole section of the street. So it will affect some traffic, minor traffic delays. Every time I've gone by, they've been really organized. They've had 2 flaggers out, so it seems like they're doing a good job. All parties involved have a weekly meeting that we attend by phone. We've had complaints about concerns of the damage to the roadway due to the construction. We discussed it today with the project manager. We talked about some of the weight of the equipment and the pipe. It doesn't seem terribly concerning, but we're definitely going to keep an eye on it. Let's see, restoration in these locations will consist of new pavement in the affected areas. So that's some good news, but we'll definitely keep an eye on any damage to our roads. Let's see, August 3rd, they are doing a controlled natural gas release. I also talked to them today about this. It, in theory, sounds worse than what it is, it sounds like. It's going to last about 2 hours, kind of on and off. It's going to be a little noisy. They claim there's really no safety concerns, but they're going to have a team of officials, workers, a safety team, and everything on site just to keep an eye on it. Apparently, they do this on a regular basis, and it doesn't seem to be problematic. But they do get calls on it.
Are you going to mention where they're going to be?
That is going to be on Palisades, and I didn't write the date for the second one, but it's all this.
Controlled release.
Yes.
Cleves, Warsaw, and Linneman, and then down by River Road and Hillside.
Anderson Ferry, yeah, but near Anderson Ferry.
So you'll smell natural gas, and you're going to hear a loud,
Noise.
maybe like a jet engine kind of sound. So just more of an FYI. I'm sure we'll get plenty of calls so that we know what's going on. I would jump in a little bit on the pipe work. Duke is doing this transmission line. It's not the feeder to your house. It's a large pipe taking the natural gas across the region. Certain attorneys in the room have testified and fought this for various other local government clients in front of the PUCO. This is a very disruptive project. They're coming down the middle of Glendale Milford. It's closed in the area I live. So this is happening everywhere. It's a big project, and the pipe, if you see it in action, just to get the pipe ready, it takes a big area. So what the people on Palisades are seeing is where they stage to put the pipe together. They put all these railroad ties out. It's very intense. So it's got to be done. It's nothing we can tell them not to do. They're going to do it. I would say when they are on private property, they are negotiating with that private property owner. When Duke is in the right-of-way, they have the right to be there, and we have the right to know what they're doing in the right-of-way and restoring it. But Bandana is going to be, that'll be an interesting project. They're going up the middle of Bandana. That's a tight street. I know they tried to work with the property owners to go in yards, and that was turned down, which is their right. So Bandana is going to be a difficult thing for them, but that's about all they can do. They have to do it. They don't have a choice. I think the residents are well aware what's going on Bandana. I would add that we know they've kept us informed. So Palisades, it's at the very end, and when the road's going to be impacted from a safety access standpoint, police and fire are aware of what is going on, and if they have a call, they know, hey, it's shut, or this side, or whatever. So that is all addressed as they are closing different areas or streets. But yeah, it's a big project. There is no doubt about that.
Anything else, Mr. Ripper?
He covered, some of this stuff, but as he mentioned, it's a little bigger than we thought. I know Jack and I have been on meetings started probably, 6-8 months ago. So it's really organized. They're very responsive to any concerns we've had. They always call us right back. They try to work with us, that's for sure. So if anybody would have any questions, of course, they can give Public Works a call, and we'll try to help them out. We do have a link, not a whole bunch of information, but some off of our website on the main page under Duke.
The residents have a major concern about the condition of the road after all this is finished. And I think all of us have tried to say, we're on it, you're on it, Ron. But what exactly is our recourse if we're unhappy with the condition of Palisades when they're finished?
I talked to him today about that. I don't think it's going to be a problem with them repairing it. Like I said, they've been great to work with. Luckily, what's saving us, at least on that section, is the pipe isn't really that deep, so the equipment isn't really big.
Okay.
So that's definitely helpful.
And you said these projects had to be done by December?
Yes. They'll actually, on some good news on that, the Palisades section should be done within 30 days. So they're moving right along, and they will be working on the Bandana site, at the same time. So they're moving along fast.
Okay, that's good to know, that we see an end in sight. Trustee Davis?
No, I think we all spoke with many of the residents back there, but I think it's somewhat reassuring to know that you are in weekly meetings, although by phone, but actually physically going out also. I think that's their biggest concern is they want to make sure that, the people don't come in, flip everything upside down, and then they're gone. Then we try to bring it back to fix the yard, fix what was broken. But I appreciate that. Even up to last night, we were at a meeting, and someone had brought that up. Are you... do you have somebody from Township on property so we can say yes, that there are, and I believe you, we will not let them out unless it's fixed and looks good. But 30 days would be great if they can get in and get out. That would be huge.
At these meetings, it's not just us with concerns. They bring questions for us, which is good that they're on top of it. So great team to work with.
And they seem to be working well with the two families whose yards are being annihilated as we speak, and telling them what they're going to do for them. So they seem very, very happy, and it's their yard. So, all right, thank you. Anything else? Yes?
I would add, you're going to see Rapid Run across from Bandana. They're going to be staging on that area too.
Natural
So as
area?
you see that's what's going on.
Okay.
Again, a bunch of railroad ties to make sure the ground's not moving around on them, but in Bandana's not 30 days. That's Palisades.
No, that's Palisades.
Yeah, that's Palisades.
Sorry, that one's going to be a little longer.
Yeah.
But before December, or through December, possibly.
That's good news.
Okay. Yeah, that is good news. All right, wonderful, thank you. All right, administration.
Motion naming Lori Stutt as a designee to attend the Ohio Public Records Training on behalf of the elected officials per the Ohio Attorney General as mandated by the Ohio Public Records Law.
So moved.
Seconded.
All those in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, motion carries, thank you. Okay.
Lori.
Yeah, thank you for going for us, Lori. All right, Mr. Cameron. No report?
No, Duke is doing some pipeline, never mind. No, I would just reiterate to folks, and we cover a lot of what I would cover, but, go to our website. We've just updated that. There's new ways to interact there. We're continuing to work on that. Continuing to work on the mixed-use project, maybe get some traction there, but that's still going on. Plenty of activity and discussions there, so that's not, out of sight. So just because it's not in front of us, but otherwise, you heard most of what we have going on.
Okay. Any questions? Trustee
No,
Seavey?
nothing,
Trustee
thank
Davis? Okay, thank you very much. Community development, please.
Accept the voluntary resignation of Inspector Nathan D. Baker effective August 4th, 2021.
So moved.
Seconded.
All those in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, motion carries. Thank you, Nathan, for your time with us. You've served us well.
Greg has another opening.
Yes?
Greg's doing another employment pitch.
Yeah, soon, yeah.
Take 30 seconds, do a little public service announcement on the position and who you're looking for to fill that.
Yeah, Nathan, he did a really good job for us. Nathan went to planning school, and I think he really wanted to get back into the planning side of things. So he did accept a position with Hamilton County, so we do wish him the best of luck. He will be missed, because when you see our numbers coming up, you'll know why he's going to be greatly missed.
Yes.
We're looking for just an inspector with some great qualities. The job is posted on our website. Great personal skills. Customer service is number one. Patience is a big key when you have a position like this, and just being able to communicate well with the public. It's a job of educating instead of policing is how I look at it. A lot of residents just don't know the rules in government. I always tell them I wouldn't know the rules unless I worked in government myself. And I'm sure my father, growing up, was doing things at our house probably without permits and things like that. So I didn't know that. But, when you get in government, you start learning things. So it's definitely a job of educating the public and working with them. And, a lot of people think we're bad at what we're doing because we're policing. But, we are really trying to enhance the community and bring it up. And, a lot of the work that we do, I never knock police and fire, but I always say when you drive into a community, the things you notice are good streets and cleanliness. Those are the first two things. There's going to be good police and fire, but those are the two things you notice first. And when we have businesses looking at our community, those are the things we need to make sure they're seeing.
So I would add, this is our inspector position, so we have community development director or assistant administrator. We have our zoning administrator, and then the inspector is under the zoning administrator. There's not this great list of experience one needs to have. You need to be able to communicate with people and not get upset when you're getting called about grass that's not getting cut, because it will wear you down. However, there's not this great amount of experience you need, technical aptitude. Full-time work, it's about $20 an hour, the health insurance, so it's not bad, but you have to be able to deal with people and have some technical aptitude that can limit you.
Okay, thank you for that. Okay, we'll go into our resolutions before our report.
Resolution 2021-121, resolution declaring nuisance for excessive vegetation at 587 Pedretti Avenue, declaring an emergency and dispensing with second reading.
I introduce and move the adoption of this resolution.
I second the adoption of the resolution.
Any discussion on the resolution? Mr. DeLong?
I will just mention, since we have 10 of these, all of these properties were in the condition you see in the photos as of this morning, so we do request that you declare them a nuisance this evening.
Okay. I move to dispense with the second reading of this resolution.
I second the motion to dispense with the second reading.
All those in favor of the motion to dispense with the second reading?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, Mr. Luby, please call the roll.
Mrs. Seavey.
Yes.
Mr. Davis.
Yes.
Mrs. Sturts.
Yes, resolution passes.
Resolution 2021-122, a resolution declaring nuisance for excessive vegetation at 4027 Delhi Pike, declaring an emergency and dispensing with a second reading.
I introduce and move the adoption of this resolution.
I second the adoption of the resolution.
Any discussion on the resolution? No.
I move to dispense with the second reading of this resolution.
I second the motion to dispense with the second reading of this resolution.
All those in favor of the motion to dispense with the second reading?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, Mr. Luby, please call the roll.
Mrs. Seavey.
Yes.
Mr. Davis.
Yes.
Mrs. Sturts.
Yes, resolution passes.
Resolution 2021-123, a resolution declaring nuisance for excessive vegetation at 4288 Skylark Drive, declaring an emergency and dispensing with a second reading.
I introduce and move the adoption of this resolution.
I second the adoption of the resolution.
Any discussion on this resolution? No.
I move to dispense with the second reading of this resolution.
I second the motion to dispense with the second reading of this resolution.
All those in favor of the motion to dispense with the second reading?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, Mr. Luby, please call the roll.
Mrs. Seavey.
Yes.
Mr. Davis.
Yes.
Mrs. Sturts.
Yes, resolution passes.
Resolution 2021-124, resolution declaring nuisance for excessive vegetation at 4615 Mayhew Avenue, declaring an emergency and dispensing with a second reading.
I introduce and move the adoption of this resolution.
I second the adoption of the resolution.
Any discussion on this resolution? No.
Nope. I move to dispense with the second reading of this resolution.
I second the motion to dispense with the second reading of the resolution.
All those in favor of the motion to dispense with the second reading?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, Mr. Luby, please call the roll.
Mrs. Seavey.
Yes.
Mr. Davis.
Yes.
Mrs. Sturts.
Yes, resolution passes.
Resolution 2021-125, resolution declaring nuisance for excessive vegetation at 4989 Francis View Drive, declaring an emergency and dispensing with the second reading.
I introduce and move the adoption of this resolution.
I second the adoption of the resolution.
Any discussion on this resolution? No.
I move to dispense with the second reading of this resolution.
I second the motion to dispense with the second reading of this resolution.
All those in favor of the motion to dispense with the second reading?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Mr. Luby, please call the roll.
Mrs. Seavey.
Yes.
Mr. Davis.
Yes.
Mrs. Sturts.
Yes. Resolution passes.
Resolution 2021-126, resolution declaring nuisance for excessive vegetation at 5248 Wood Lake Drive, declaring an emergency and dispensing with the second reading.
I introduce and move the adoption of this resolution.
I second the adoption of the resolution.
Any discussion on the resolution? No.
I move to dispense with the second reading of this resolution.
I second the motion to dispense with the second reading of this resolution.
All those in favor of the motion to dispense with the second reading?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Mr. Luby, please call the roll.
Mrs. Seavey.
Yes.
Mr. Davis.
Yes.
Mrs. Sturts.
Yes. Resolution passes.
Resolution 2021-127, resolution declaring nuisance for excessive vegetation at 5348 Whitmore Drive, declaring an emergency and dispensing with the second reading.
I introduce and move the adoption of this resolution.
I second the adoption of the resolution.
Any discussion on this resolution? No.
I move to dispense with the second reading of this resolution.
I will second the motion to dispense with the second reading of this resolution.
All those in favor of the motion to dispense with the second reading?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Mr. Luby, please call the roll.
Mrs. Seavey.
Yes.
Mr. Davis.
Yes.
Mrs. Sturts.
Yes. Resolution passes.
Resolution 2021-128, a resolution declaring nuisance for excessive vegetation at 5433 Cleves Warsaw Pike, declaring an emergency and dispensing with the second reading.
I introduce and move the adoption of this resolution.
I second the adoption of the resolution.
Any discussion on this resolution? No.
I move to dispense with the second reading of this resolution.
I second the motion to dispense with the second reading of this resolution.
All those in favor of the motion to dispense with the second reading?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Mr. Luby, please call the roll.
Mrs. Seavey.
Yes.
Mr. Davis.
Yes.
Mrs. Sturts.
Yes. Resolution passes.
Resolution 2021-129, resolution declaring nuisance for accumulated debris at 1021 Neeb Road, declaring an emergency and dispensing with the second reading.
I introduce and move the adoption of this resolution.
I second the adoption of the resolution.
Any discussion on this resolution? No.
I move to dispense with the second reading of this resolution.
I second the motion to dispense with the second reading of this resolution.
All those in favor of the motion to dispense with the second reading?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Mr. Luby, please call the roll.
Mrs. Seavey.
Yes.
Mr. Davis.
Yes.
Mrs. Sturts.
Yes. Resolution passes.
Resolution 2021-130, resolution declaring nuisance for accumulated debris at 332 Glen Oaks Drive, declaring an emergency and dispensing with the second reading.
I introduce and move the adoption of this resolution.
I second the adoption of this resolution.
Any discussion on this resolution? No.
I move to dispense with the second reading of this resolution.
I second the motion to dispense with the second reading of this resolution.
All those in favor of the motion to dispense with the second reading?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Mr. Luby, please call the roll.
Mrs. Seavey.
Yes.
Mr. Davis.
Yes.
Mrs. Sturts.
Yes. Resolution passes.
Mr. DeLong, are these repeat offenders?
A lot of them are. I didn't go through and calculate them, but I did, when I was flipping through them, I noticed quite a few were.
Yeah, I did too.
Could we ask maybe in the future, just a thought, if you're at and you have information that maybe, like say that car and the woman that lives there is 91 years old, or there's someone that's handicapped or something, if you could just let us know that, because I don't know where you guys are, it gets very frustrating when you're going through this and people think that we love this. This is the worst part of our job, what we just did, to have to do this for our residents, to try and get them to cut their grass or get rid of junked vehicles and things like that. But we do have hearts, so when there are cases that they just can't, please, I know that there's many in the community that would help and reach out to help the situations, but that might be something in the future, just we kind of have an idea that doesn't have to be brought up in the meeting, but maybe,
Yeah, that's a good point, Trustee Davis, because Greg, do you ever work with the CARES group out of the fire department?
Yeah.
Yes, yes, and you get the referrals on some of this to them.
Yes, we do.
Yeah, because that's a great group to
Yeah.
be connected to.
Yeah,
And also the Boy Scouts from the nearby church would like to help with mowing if they can sometimes. So, just
we do every effort to get in contact with these property owners. It's sometimes frustrating. Nathan will be at the door, know they're home, and they won't answer the door,
Of course.
and then they'll call. So it's one of those. So we do our best, and we do refer quite a few to the CARES group when we know there's some concerns going on or if they need assistance. So, but yeah, we'll definitely do that.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
The CARES group with the social worker and all the connections that Bobby Hunnert has to get people help when they need it is something that Delhi residents, you have that right to talk to Bobby and get this help. And we're just fortunate that we're a community that has a CARES program. So,
If I can add something, I think, having done this in several communities, the efforts they take to not get to the point of having it in front of you is important. That's an important component to me, that we're giving somebody every effort at due process, especially before you get to a formal stage. So one thing, I think that's important for folks to understand. One, we're not just going out and writing a resolution and putting it in front of you without some effort to get the grass cut or the nuisance abated, whatever that might be. We generate the agenda, and we have these nuisances listed. It's what we're at Friday with the nuisances. And then one of the things that's important to me is where are we at this morning? Literally this morning. And 4 of them came off. They got their grass cut. So it's important to me, and I know to you, that we don't put it on the agenda and have action on it if they took care of it as we asked, even if it's at the last second. So people need to understand, this is the last thing we absolutely want to do. We don't want to have to go get the grass cut. They could still cut the grass before we do it and then put it on their tax bill. But this is, Mr. Davis, you're right. This is the last thing we want to do. This is the last thing we want to deal with. We want people to cut the grass, but we try and give them every opportunity to deal with it without us having to be more involved than we already are.
Thank you. Appreciate it. What's your report this month?
Sure. Unfortunately, looking at the nuisance numbers as you look across the top of the screen, on the right-hand side, those are our numbers as of today. We're sitting right now at 752 filed complaints. These are initial complaints only. Like we have one property we've received probably 4 additional complaints on. They're not logged on this. But you can see we are kind of trending in the wrong direction, which we don't like to see, but we try to keep up on the best we can, and like Jack said, we don't want to bring them here if we can avoid it, and we do our best with that. Zoning certificates, that's a positive right now. We're really spiking up on those. We're at 191 on the year. I wouldn't be surprised if we do beat last year's record of 272, and our valuation right now is $12.2 million worth of private investment. And these are just certificates we issue. We do know recently McDonald's did their investment. We didn't have to issue permits, and that was about $750,000 investment. So these are just the numbers we have that we have for zoning certificates only. So, and then some development stuff. Blue Roo, as you see, is under construction on Delhi Pike. They're doing soil and footers right now. Christ Hospital is still working on their space at 5026 Delhi Pike. La Rosa's is really coming along quick down at Mount Averno and Delhi Pike. Mr. Luby's place is hopefully wrapping up soon for him, so he can get moved into that by the end of August. Garden Grove is really taking off right now. We actually issued 2 more buildings today, their zoning certificates. They informed us that the base price on those condos is $300,000. So that's
Garden
right
Grove,
now.
will you tell them where Garden Grove
That is the old Witterstatter property at the corner of Covedale and Foley Road. And then Greenside Estates still has about 11 lots left. So, and then, we do a lot of other things. These are just some quick things we do. We're also working on grants right now and a lot of other projects going on in the department. And as mentioned earlier, we have an inspector position we'd like to get filled. And the application deadline is on August 23rd. So, do you have any questions?
Trustee?
Greg, the good news is a lot of people listened and learned to your entire zoning rewrite. That's the good news, because now they know where to go and who's in violation. So the bad news is you're getting a big number. But, you did such a good job presenting all the new zoning regulations that this is what's happened. Mm-hmm. People are aware, and they are also aware that you're there to help it. So, good job. You just built your job.
And I always say we'd have a good zoning code because, we have a BZA meeting coming up in September, and that'll be our first meeting since the new rewrite. And it's basically an interpretation of the code, not any zoning regulations or setbacks and things like that. So, we're happy about it.
No, I love seeing the other businesses that want to do business in Delhi. I think word has gotten out about the mixed-use project, which I know we're going to have a different name for that soon, the Remke building. But it's kind of neat to see people starting to pivot and try to buy up the properties around there because they know the landscape will be changing in the next 2 years up on the Pike, and for the better. It's going to be great. There's going to be an incredible pulse, if you would, up on the Pike, and it's going to be neat, I think, over the next 2 to 10 years, just to see how things kind of change. We still protect our traditions here in Delhi, of course, but for other people to take interest. And as we said, one of the best kept secrets living in Delhi, you're 13, 14 minutes from home. Your husband has joked about that, Cheryl, about being 12, 13 minutes from being behind.
Driveway to the courthouse.
Driveway to the courthouse, yeah. That's incredible, and people are looking for that. And so, yeah, we keep our properties looking nice, keep the Pike looking nice. We do our best with the roads to keep those functioning and good things, protect the property values. And I think for the residents, that's what they want, including the ones in Palisades and everywhere else. We want to keep things nice. Thank you.
Mr. DeLong, I believe I heard a wonderful number. What's our current vacancy rate, and what's the average?
Right now, we're sitting at about 12.8%, and usually around 20 for the county.
20 is normal, okay? So that's great. That took a lot of work and a lot of effort, and I think that's going to go down even more,
It will.
as you know.
And we, I think, have a couple more permits coming in for new uses, so we're excited.
We love it. Thank you. Looking forward to it.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, I don't have any public comments submitted for tonight, so Mr. Luby, if we can have the announcement of community events.
The Delhi Farmers Market is open on Saturday mornings through August 28th from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m., and that's at Clearview Lake at Delhi Park. You can call the parks for more details. Delhi Parks presents Fishing on Fridays. It is through September, 7 a.m. until dusk, and it's at Clearview Lake at Delhi Park. Fishing is available to Delhi residents and is permitted in designated areas, and you can call the parks if you have questions. Delhi Township Community Blood Drive for August 2nd is canceled. The Delhi Parks and Recreation presents Shakespeare in a Park performance, Romeo and Juliet, Tuesday, August 10th at 7 p.m., and that's at the Delhi Park Pavilion, and you can contact the Parks Department for more details. Delhi Branch Library Outdoor Story Time are Tuesdays and Wednesday mornings. There's 2 sessions, one at 10:15 and the second at 11 a.m., and that is on the front lawn of the library. Delhi Branch Library After Hours Book Club, Read at the Bone, is Wednesday, August 18th from 7 to 8 p.m., and that's at the Delhi Library. You can join the group for a lively talk with Jacqueline Woodson's book, Read at the Bone. You can call 513-369-6019 for more details. Delhi Parks and Recreation presents Concert in the Park featuring curly and the cue balls. That's Thursday, August 19th at 7 p.m., and that's at Delhi Park Pavilion, and you can contact the park for more details.
All right.
That's all we have.
Lots going on. Okay. We do have a need to go to an executive session tonight, so if we could have the motion, please, Mr. Luby.
Motion to retire to executive session to consider the hiring of public employees, confidential information related to the marketing plans, specific business strategy, trade secrets, or personal financial statements of an applicant for economic development assistance.
So moved.
Seconded.
Mr. Luby, please call the roll.
Mrs. Seavey?
Yes.
Mr. Davis?
Yes.
Mrs. Sturts?
Yes, motion passes. Thank you for coming tonight or tuning in. Our next meeting is Wednesday, August 11th at 6 o'clock. Stay healthy.